This is another Halloween style comic book review. This is Casper Strange Ghost Stories. I'm sure you're going to leave me now that you cleaned yourself on top of me. uh, Shiver with fear, shake with laughter. The friendly ghost. Casper Strange Ghost Stories. This is number one. I didn't realize this was issue one. It was just like a one shot or something, possibly. And this is just the entrance to Nightmare House. We got Harvey Comics, I believe 1974, maybe. Yep. This is issue one. We start out with the friendly ghost Casper and the unhappy monster. He's at his house with his brothers. He's going to go out and do something. They want him to stay clean, feed him, all that, but he did that already. So he's headed out. And when he gets out in the woods, he starts scaring rabbits, bunnies, deer, all that. Everybody's afraid of him. Even the tree jumps up out of the ground and runs away. And we see this big ogre-looking character appear, and he's not afraid of Casper, but he tells Casper a story about how he was a normal, good-looking guy and was about to marry his fiance or wanted to proposed to her or something. I think they were going to get married, but some witch came along, changed him into what he looks like now, and uh, Casper goes with him throughout a variety of different woods to try and find the witch that cursed the poor guy. And once they do, well, we'll get back to that story, and it takes a break and comes back later in the book, so we'll go with it as it goes. But they go off witch to witch, and all kinds of things happen at the witches' houses. And then we got another Casper story. Well, this is a short single one pager, but Casper sees a kid through a window of a toy store grabbing a plane and running, and Casper's like he's uh, stealing. So Casper goes in and makes himself invisible and says something to the boy and just pretend he's his conscious and gets him to put the toy back. And then the boy gets to the front door where his mother is, and she's like, I told you could pick out a toy. Why didn't you get one? And he's like, I was told to put it back. Casper ruined his day. Then we got Wendy and her evil witch sisters that she deals with, the Witchly Trio, and she was trying to mess with them. Oh, that she messes with them in the later story. This story, another witch gives her a pressed witch's brew in tablet form, and she thinks it'll help her sisters stop making their stinky evil brew. And then they end up taking the tablets and throwing them into their brew and making an even stinkier brew. And they're all happy, and Wendy's not. It didn't work out for her at all. And now we jump back to our ogre story. As you can see, they're coming across witches. One witch keeps, well, they have a dragon appear in front of them when they're out in the woods, a giant frog, uh, and one or two other creatures that they come across, and every time it's this one witch that's just basically wearing a costume and messing with them. And then they also come across a witch that they get into the castle and end up dropping into a dungeon, going through like a drop through area that shoots them out the eyeballs of a giant witch statue, and they get flung out of the castle after they ask the witch if she ever cursed this gentleman. And then they go back to Wendy's house. They went to Wendy's house once before in the first section, but Wendy wasn't home. So they went back to Wendy's house, and Wendy's, I don't remember this guy. And this guy's like, this is the witch. And then she remembers that someone came up to her and wanted her to do something. So she did. And so since he wanted to be turned back to his normal self, she does it for him. And there's his normal self, even uglier than his troll self that he was turned into. Uh, One cool thing about this, I don't remember these at all, and I want them now, but I can't find them. I've already searched as I was reading this book. But old Harvey records, I got a Sad Sack one. I want these, but I have no idea where I'll ever be able to find those. And I got a quick little one-page story here where Casper jumps into a water painting and goes for a swim, and then he sees this other painting and it's just all crazy, and he wants to know what it is, and he comes out, he's like, I'll never go back in there, that was so dirty, and he just comes out all painted up. Then we got Casper seeing a flare shot from the top of a castle, and Casper and Wendy and this other witch and this guy from the woods people that live close to the castle and stuff. They head towards the castle, and the little guy from the area, he's like, well, there's this big ogre that chases us all the time, wanting his knuckle knuckle flarf, or whatever the heck it is. And so they first get to the castle, and some of the kids sit there and bother the ogre and tick the ogre off, while Casper and Wendy go up to the peak of the castle and where the flare came from and rescue that person. They bring that person down and they ask him where he lives. They're trying to get him back to his home, and because he was all happy they saved him and stuff. And they end up building a spaceship that looks more like a car. And even he gives them a hard time about it, but then it's propelled by two witches' brooms, two of Wendy's sisters or aunts. I screwed that up. Brooms. And they use that to fly to the moon and find out that the moon isn't a moon, it's just a cutout hole with a world that's all yellow behind it. So that's why you don't see that it's a portal to another world. And it's basically Op World, or Op Earth, I mean, which turns out to be the opposite land. Everything's opposite. You got a ticked off Wendy and Casper, and then the regular Wendy and Casper. And of course, Wendy and Casper in that world, yeah, look at it and read it because I can't come up with in my head. Yedanu and Repsack are their names because that Wendy and Casper backwards. And then we meet the ogre up there, and the ogre up there is a happy ogre. He's a nice ogre. And the character that they saved is like asked him for something, and he gives him a ticket, and they go off to the store like place, hand in the ticket, and they end up getting this big old box. They get that loaded up on their ship. They fly back to Earth, to regular Earth from Op Earth, and it just keeps going story into story and the story. I haven't been reading the names of the stories. It's like this one's like for he's a jolly good ogre. But then when they come back to regular Earth, they land and they find out that the person they kidnapped is this guy's kid, this ogre's kid, and they're all happy to be back together after he was chasing everybody and trying to catch him and eat him for because they put traps up and stuff that when he was chasing after them that he got stuck into. But then there's him with his brother, all happy, and we find out that a long time ago the ogre wanted his Hunkle Flunkle Storfin or whatever the heck it's called, wanted it fixed, so he sent it to Op Earth to the shop that his brother knows knew about, and that's why it was just sitting there forever because no one ever came up to get the ticket and return grab the item again. So find out what the thing is, and here it's basically a one-man band set up. So now everybody's got to listen to this big old ogre run around and play this music all the time. Then we get a story. My cat's wanting out with Wendy and her aunts, and she's irritated with them, so she messes with them, cracks their witch's brew, uh, basin, the witch cauldron, and so they put all their gook from inside it into a newer, stronger cauldron that they had set aside anyways. And then Wendy does a spell that makes the old cauldron kind of like crunch up and go into the middle of the brew, and then the witches start tasting it, and they're like, "Ooh, this is really good. This is gonna be our new brew." And then Wendy does something, a chunk of metal out of the witch's cauldron and tips it over with her magic, and a big chunk comes out of it. And then she says, "Well, can I get rid of that?" And so they let her, and she rolls it down a hill and over some stuff, and uh, ends up landing in a like big pit of sulfur and boils up and stuff. And then the witches come down. They're like, "What's that wonderful noise?" And then they get the smell and everything else. And now they got a whole other witches brew type thing. And you get a couple fun stories in the back too. Uh, and then Spooky gets the final story where he's going around just scaring things, scaring artwork right off the billboards and messing around with people. And then he decides he sees a sign for a stage show, and he's like, "Oh, could make a bunch of money by playing a ghost that people think is just an actor." And then he dresses up, gets himself some fancy clothes, and dresses himself up, but then finds out that things are so much better when he was just his regular self, and he could go around spooking people up. So, fun story. Gotta let the cat out. So keep following under the Call of MS. Rate, review, subscribe, tell a friend. Give us those likes. Leave a comment. I'll comment back. Check out Crimson Color Comic Club. And I'll be back with more of you soon. Thanks. Bye.